Hey guys, it's Gary. I'm here in southern Utah and I am in Buckskin Gulch. And this is like 2 days after Christmas and it is snowing. It's not actually that cold, but it is snowing. Buckskin Gulch is the longest slot canyon in the world, and it is really an unbelievable place. 15 miles of walking through this. Anyway, I thought I'd do a really quick legal tip on what happens when your seller gets seller remorse. I've had some calls where people have asked me, well, what happens? What can happen to the seller? Well, two things can happen. Number one is that the buyer can go ahead and terminate the contract and receive earnest money and just walk away. And that happens most of the times. But there are times where the buyer just will not relent. They really want the property, particularly in this tight market that we're in right now. And so what they might wind up doing is they can sue for specific performance. That's where they can make the seller sell the property to them. They file res pendens against the property. Seller won't be able to sell it to anybody for the 18 months or 12 months that it takes to get to the court hearing. And then after that, they can also sue for damages, and I have seen recently where the court's awarding more and more damages. We've seen cases where they've awarded damages for interest rate buy downs, because if the interest rate goes up. We've also seen situations where they have included appraisals, attorney fees, things of that nature that they have to pay for title work. But we've also seen them sue for moving expenses. If they lose a house which they were going to buy because you didn't buy theirs, we've seen them sue for that because of losing the house of their dreams and things of that nature. So it can be very, very expensive for a seller if a seller gets seller remorse. So what you need to do is to be sure to have these conversations with your seller when you go to list a property. Talk to the seller and say, do you understand that once we sign this contract, there's no backing out of it? Have these hard conversations. I know a lot of buyers don't want, or sellers don't want to hear these kind of conversations, but they really these conversations way in advance, so that if there is situations, they'll understand that if they do go try to decide not to sell the property, they could be looking at a lawsuit. They could be looking at having to sell the property anyway, because under the contract they can sue for specific performance. So have these conversations up front with your client. Make sure your client understands that once they sign the contract, it is a contract and they cannot back out of it without being a lot of pain. Now, what I have seen recently also is that when sellers want to back out, I have seen buyers kind of hit them for some money and say, well, if you want to back out, then I'll be happy to let you back out, but backing out is going to cost you some money. And I've actually seen sellers have to pay buyers to let the buyers walk away, for the seller to walk away. So it's not something that you want to have happen very often. So again, if you'll have these conversations up front, I think you'll be in a better situation. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed looking at Buckskin Gulch. It is an incredible place to be, and I'll give you some more of these along the way.